Good evening, and here we are, finally, the technological three young ladies who did really well yesterday. They confronted their anxiety, and here we are back. So
back with a bang.
With a bang. With me today is Becky, Malia, better known as Rebecca, but we call her Becky, and Anna Fenech, a psychotherapist. Becky, let's start. I really want to start asking you, number one, thank you very much that you're coming on air and you're going to share with us your experience of anxiety. So I had to ask you, what's your understanding of anxiety? How do you define it?
So anxiety, there are different types of anxiety I have come to understand. I have experienced through different times in my life, different types of anxiety. There are types of anxiety which lead to panic attacks. And I have to sympathize with everybody out there who is or has or whatever experienced panic attacks, because they are not fun at all. And after going through them myself, I feel this big urge to speak about my experience, because I always felt that when I was going through them, when I spoke to someone who passed through them, it made me feel so much better. So, yes.
The fact, I'm going to be interrupting sometimes and asking questions.
That's fine.
And I'm going to ask you, Anna, too, to explain more maybe later on, so we hear Rebecca. And I'm very aware that we have a very short time, so we need to be a bit to the point. Like, can you describe, because I'm very aware that there are many people who experience anxiety on various levels. And I'm sure Anna will agree with me that there are a lot of people who actually use up a lot of energy to hide the anxiety. So again, Bex, thank you so much for talking about it. Can I ask you, what brought on your anxiety and what did you experience when you were having a panic attack?
Okay, so my anxiety, which led to panic attacks, had started when I had my first child 17 years ago. I was young. I wasn't a very strong person, I have to admit. And the change, the worry, the stress of, of having this child, which depended on me, plus my nights brought on insomnia. So I had a big level of stress in the sense that I was worrying about not sleeping every night. I was worrying that I'm going to wake up, not wake up, I wouldn't even have slept and I have to take care of a child. The stress of if my child coughed or sneezed, in those days I used to worry. So it all brought so much anxiety, and then I started feeling this horrendous sensation. Now you have to understand that today I know what panic attack is. 17 years ago, ma konċ naf xejn. All I know is that suddenly I started getting this horrible sensation which came out of nothing. It was a dry mouth, racing heart, which I could not stop. Then you go into a panic. You start to panic because of all these emotions you're feeling, which come onto you just like that.
Can I stop you a second, Reb? Sorry, I'm stopping you. Anna, when you hear Rebecca describe her thoughts, describe what she was worried about, what can you explain about that? What's happening to a person when they're going through all these thoughts, and then these thoughts change into feelings, emotions, physiological reactions?
Exactly.
How would you elaborate on that?
So first of all, like we've been saying, there are different forms of anxiety, of panic attack, anxiety attack, which we intertwine, stress. So it's kind of quite a
build up.
There's a lot happening. There's a lot happening in different forms. They all have slightly different symptoms, perhaps. But the result is that what happens is that so our body is wired to prepare us to fight in case we are being harmed.
Threatened. There's a threat in our mind.
Exactly. So, and this is a very primitive part of the brain. So this comes from kind of the animal in what we call animal instinct and our primitive brain, our reptilian brain. So what happens is that because it's through evolution has been there for such a long time, the body is so trained, if you like, to respond to threat.
Danger or imagined danger.
No, but the body, this is exactly what happens. The body does not, the brain does not distinguish between a real threat and a perceived threat. And it's so quick. Once we perceive the threat or it's actual, what happens is so fast because the body is trained to survive also, that we don't have time to think. So what happens is that our body goes into what we call fight or flight. So it sends messages to the brain. It sees an image. It's very quick. By the time it sends messages, we don't even know what's happening. So it sends messages to your body to release hormones and to release adrenaline so that we prepare to fight or to run away. Many of us tend to freeze as well. So we have all this energy, all this adrenaline. What happens? My heart starts racing. I start to feel the dryness in my mouth. So sometimes I hyperventilate. My heart is beating very fast. I think I'm going to pass out. I think I'm going to die. And then we start to become more anxious. So one brings on the other.
So, I know. I'm going to move.
Yeah, sure.
Rebecca, hearing you. And is that what you experienced?
Totally. Yes, absolutely. You feel like, I used to explain it. I used to say, I feel like I'm being chased by a monster. You know, it is that panic that, you know, you're scared, you're so frightened, and yet you don't know. I mean, I've spoken to you before this chat that in those days I didn't know what a panic attack was. So I was saying, Imma, what is this feeling? What is this feeling like I'm being chased? I look around and say, but nothing is happening around me. Like, what is it, you know?
And it was new to you. So you had never had panic attacks before.
Oh, no. Panic attack is all about fear. It is all here, you know? So basically, I went through it. I felt it. I tried to find an answer to it. And then I decided, okay, I think I know what I have to do here, okay? And this panic attack went on for 2 months. I didn't used to eat, you don't function, you're constantly worried, your brain is constantly working, you know? The most important thing when someone is experiencing this is don't fear it. You mustn't be afraid of it. So basically, when you feel it coming, you need to acknowledge it. You mustn't fear it, okay? And you just say, okay, so I'm gonna have this panic attack. I'm not gonna die, because you literally think you're gonna die. I remember telling my husband, take me to hospital now. I need to be sedated or something. You know, that's to what extent you feel.
Yes,
yes, so you just need to not fear it, ride through it, you know, accept it, you know. And one thing I say is that from this experience, because then eventually I got out of it, which is amazing. From such a bad experience like this, I learned so much. I became such a stronger person. It's amazing. From such an ugly experience, you become so much stronger. Because I was quite a weak person, vulnerable, couldn't quit, every little thing I used to worry, you know. And these experiences then make you so much stronger.
Bex,
so, tell me.
Beck, I'm gonna stop you again. Apologies, stop for stopping you.
It's okay, عشان نكمل night
لا تبزاش عندك شي تبزاش. أنا obviously everybody, I mean, Becky, you obviously had the capability of embracing it, facing it. It doesn't make anyone less of a person if they don't manage to, and it doesn't make anyone less of a person if they ask for help, if it takes longer or not. Some people manage in different ways, but because I'm aware of the time and I'm aware that it's very important. Anna, in your opinion, what would be a few helpful tips if somebody is listening today, or somebody is listening and they know someone close to them who's feeling very anxious? What are the signs to look out for? And what would you suggest, besides what Becky's suggesting, that listen, don't fight it, don't suppress it, don't hide it, face it, understand it, rationalize it, feel it. It's not going to kill you at the end of the day. What other tips can you add to what Becky is very cleverly actually sharing with us?
I mean, that is very important, because as soon as we acknowledge the fear and name it, we already kind of know what it is. We've given it a name. And then we can start to see, okay, what needs to be done. So first of all, breathing is very important to bring ourselves into our body, because most times when we're anxious, we feel like out of our body, we lose touch. So how to ground ourselves, and breathing is one way of grounding ourselves. Of course, there are ways to breathe, deep breathing, slow breathing, because otherwise we hyperventilate and we pass out anyway. So breathing is one way of getting ourselves into the body, and touch. So maybe it's like, sometimes it's even putting your hand directly on your skin and on your chest. Understanding what it is as fear. Is it real? No. Is it happening now? Most times it's not. So that means I'm safe. So once we tell the body we're safe, we already calm down. The breathing regulates our heartbeat too. So we're trying to send messages to our body that we are safe. Once we are safe, then we can rationalize. And we have so many resources within us already. So I like to look at kind of what needs to be done in this situation. What am I in control of? Because there are many things that we are in control of, even if we are in dire straits. But if we break it down, what can I be in control of? And what resources do I have around me and within me to do this? So maybe I need to get up and move out. I need to breathe. I need to call someone. I need to change my body temperature, so that helps me to calm down.
Something else that I find that people manage to is, because sometimes people think a lot and they cannot change their thoughts. So I tell them, try and, take control if we can actually, of your brain, in the sense, start looking around the room and pick all the white objects.
Yes.
Because you automatically controlling what you're focusing on. You're automatically controlling what you're thinking of. So if you're in a room or anywhere, what are all the white objects that are around me?
And what can I touch? What, using the senses. This is very, very important. Like the white, or whatever way you want to, look at. And yes, the focus is very important at that point. So what can I focus on? And then to bring ourselves very much into the reality. Where am I? Okay. Talk a lot about being safe. We talked in other on the we connect about mantras. What can I tell myself? What do I need to let go of? What is triggering me that is not helping me? And these are all things that are concrete. So we can even eventually, what I like to say also is, after it happens, to reflect on it and see what helps. What else can I do next time? Because sometimes we need to prepare ourselves. Like, if you're going out on a picnic or something, you prepare. You don't get there and then suddenly you have nothing. So these resources are also skills that we, whatever we do, Mar, like you were saying, what do I focus on? How do I breathe? These are also skills that we need to practice. And we need to be kind to ourselves, like Becky was saying. We have a very strong inner critic that leads us to this kind of anxious space.
So expectations, we should be...
Exactly, I should, what if they don't accept me? What if I fail? What if I'm not a good mother? What if I'm not a good husband?
If everybody had to take a minute, sit down and get a piece of paper and write down what they believe are their shoulds.
Exactly.
Find, except for the only one who wouldn't make a list would probably be somebody without any conscience, but We all have our shoulds. Don't you agree, Beck?
Totally. But I'm listening to, now I'm remembering and I'm laughing because because I'm listening to Anna, what she's saying, where you have to prepare for it. So after I experienced it for some time, and then I, became friends with it, and I started to say, okay, I'm going to prepare myself. So the minute I used to feel it coming, this attack, okay, it's here. Okay, so I used to open a drawer, nibda nisbarazza, doing my drawer, then I go in the kitchen, I start cooking, kont naljena rasi. Whereas before I used to get this panic attack mostly during the night when everybody is asleep and I'm wide awake. So, but when I did get it during the day, I say, okay, so I start cooking. You have to really, like, maybe I used to phone a friend, or, you have to ride through it, literally, ride through it. But going back onto anxiety, because obviously people who get anxious, not everybody experiences panic attacks. I have, thankfully, and I touch wood, I don't.
A lot of people do not experience.
No. So I have
but they live with anxiety
every
all
day.
the time.
And this is another subject because I'm a human and I do get anxious, especially, the last time I really got anxious was when COVID arrived into our country last year, and the gyms closed and my whole world just seemed to stop. Suddenly I got anxious. I didn't get panic attacks, but I had this feeling like this tightness in my chest. I used to feel like I was choking all the time.
A situation where we're not in control, Beth.
Yes. But I got out of it. Why? Because I said, okay, so my lifestyle had changed. My lifestyle was always, for about 6 or 7 years, I wake up in the morning early, out to the gym, go straight to work. My life was like that. Suddenly I found myself, waking up what time I want, staying in my PJs till 10, 11.
So you lost your routine.
So what did I do? I said, okay, da ma jistax ikun. So I put on my alarm clock, 6:30, I was out jogging, and I tried to get back into my routine, and I felt alive again, But so anxiety, I know a lot of people. I have met so many of my friends who are now really anxious, and I tell them, surround yourself with good energy, choose, and you have to be cruel at the moment and a bit cheeky, but you need to choose the people that give you good energy. You need to listen to the right things. You need to read the right stuff, keep away from scaremonger. There was a point where I'm shy to say, but I had a lot of chat groups where we all, supported each other before last year, but there was so much more this, more that. It was going to suck me into a scaremonger, so I didn't.
Thanks, Beck. The time has run out. We're going to have to stop. Anna, some last. Thank you so much, Becky.
You're welcome.
Thanks so much, and such practical. At the end of the day, I think what you went through is something a lot of people go through in ways, but everybody has series of anxiety. Could we just have a last note from you, Anna?
Yes, first of all, Beck, it's really good because we see what happens, from when it started to where you are now. So we all can get there, and we build resilience. So that's what happens with kind of staying at it and trying to overcome it. And what I like to say as well is we don't like change. Our body doesn't like change. So when something happens out of the blue, it throws us off balance. There's a lot of uncertainty. But if we see uncertainty as potential, not necessarily a crisis, what can I do in this situation? It's a chance for me to create something new, to go somewhere else, to make new experiences for us, for our children. We're going to come out of even this COVID. I don't doubt that we're going to come out much stronger. So not to be afraid, to tap into our creativity and to see uncertainty, not with fear, but with excitement, with potential. What can I do with this? Because it is also an opportunity to learn and to grow and to go to new places and in the end to build resilience, because that is what makes us stronger, that we stand through it and we
grow from it.
And we transform something into something, like you said, something negative or something that depletes me into something positive, and to focus on my well-being. So not guilt, but well-being. If I'm taking some time off, if I need to reach out, if I need to do something differently, this is all in the context of my well-being. And I think how we frame it is very, very important. The narrative we give it is very important. I believe
The tone, the attitude,
exactly.
the approach.
I frame it as crisis, as potential, and
Yes.
I go into a totally different process. So yes, to keep strong, keep together, and reach out when it's too much.
And I'd just like to add before we close and before we say goodbye to everyone. First of all, again, apologies for yesterday. The three of us were really trying hard to come on live, but at the end of the day, we are really resilient.
Yes.
I'd like to just send our warm regards to anybody who right now, I know there are a lot of people who have relatives and people close to them who are unwell. And our thoughts and our hearts are with you all. I hope that this short, brief interview with Becky and with Anna has been helpful. Stay safe and let's care for each other. Thank you.
Ciao.
Ciao.
Voilà.